3, 4, 89, 90. Hi, I'm Aaron Krohn. I'm Charles Krohn's most handsomest older son. Eldest. He also has 3 other children, but enough about those attention hogs. This isn't about them, nor is it about me, as usual. This is about Dad, because it's his 90th birthday, and we're here to celebrate that. Hey. Here's my first wife, Bethany Gillard Krohn, with more.
Hi, I'm Bethany. Born in 1929, Charles has been part of 10 different decades. The best part.
1929? Charles is so old, fossils consider him their mentor.
Who are you?
I'm Ali, your roast host.
This isn't a roast. This is a birthday celebration for Charles Krohn. Father, husband, actor, teacher, poet, and cat whisperer. He's turning 90!
90? Charles is so old, his birth certificate is written in hieroglyphics.
Now, we're going to take you on a little historically framed tour of Charles' life. We like to call it Dad Through the Decades.
We begin in the 1920s. Dad was born on June 14th, 1929, at the beginning of the Great Depression. Why was everyone so depressed? Perhaps it was the steep declines in industrial production, mass unemployment, banking panics, and sharp increases in the rates of poverty and homelessness. Or maybe it was because color hadn't been invented. Either way, Dad decided from the day he was born to devote himself to comedy to cheer everyone up. When Dad came home from Houston Methodist Hospital, the Marx Brothers Coconuts was in theaters, and the talkies were taking over.
The 30s. Charles' boyhood.
Boyhood? Charles is so old, he planted the redwoods. Huh? That cupcake was delicious.
Between 1930 and 1939, Charles lived in 4,789 different houses in central Houston. If your house was built by the mid-1940s, Charles lived in it. The 30s also saw the invention of several household staples, including instant coffee, ballpoint pens, and Scotch tape. Jacob Schick would invent the first practical electric razor. Years later, this would allow Charles to shave while driving, covering his cowering children in stubble snow.
And the years fly by. Now we're in the 1940s. The world was at war, whiskey was cheap. And Charles, even at 12, was even cheaper. Cut to Lanier Junior High, Woodhead at Westheimer, where luminaries once walked its hallowed halls. Future stars like Walter Cronkite, Tommy Tune, and Charles Stewart Krohn. Charles, he was Charlie then, was a budding young actor now, and he was preparing for his first-class play. He'd been cast in the lead by his teacher, Mrs. Robinson. No, not that Mrs. Robinson. He was a strapping, handsome, happy-go-lucky country boy opposite little Peggy Keithley, his first true love. Charles was so in love with Peggy Keithley. He loved her with a love so true, so deep, so paralyzing, that ordinarily in her presence, so far, he had never spoken a word. But that was all about to change now. He had lines. He had been brilliant in the audition in the classroom, reading opposite Mrs. Robinson, who spoke Peggy Keithley's part. But Peggy was back now, ready for the first rehearsal. And Charlie was really ready too. He had prepared. All that he had to do that first day of rehearsal was chase little Peggy around an old well, shout, "I'm going to catch you," and then catch her. But as they started, little Peggy looked over her shoulder, laughing, and batted her big blue eyes. And Charlie couldn't breathe, couldn't speak, couldn't move. His legs had turned to concrete. He tried to say his line, but it came out something like Dory speaking whale. Catch you. So, Mrs. Robinson, ever kind, instantly gave the part to someone else and explained to Charlie that she had a much better part for him in the Farmer's Chorus. So here we are, opening night, and he was center stage, singing the farmer's song, giving it everything he had.
As we hoe to and fro, with a merry tune we go, chopping here, chopping there, chopping, chopping everywhere.
And the rest is history. Oh, one final note. Years later, in his 20s, Charles had a date, a blind date, and the girl was Peggy Keithley. Or as Charles learned that night, Peggy No Chance in Hell Keithley. Happy birthday, Charles. We love you.
The 1950s in America were a time of compliance and conformity, but to many youths across the country it was also a time of rebellion. As such, rock and roll emerged in the 1950s as the music of choice among America's rebellious youth. The pop music market exploded in the late 1950s, popularizing dance fads, which Dad just loves. For Dad, the 50s began with war. Dad joined the Navy and went off to break the codes of those filthy commie rats. While stationed in Guam one morning, he woke to find that not only did he not know where he was, he couldn't remember who he was. By the end of the war, or at least the decade, we are almost positive it all came back to him.
The 60s was an eventful decade for both Dad and the United States. We went to the moon to see if it was made of cheese. It isn't.
What?
John F. Kennedy was elected president, and the Beatles invaded the hearts of millions of American teens.
Dad was really coming into his own as an actor, man. He worked at the Alley Theater and most notably did Irma la Douce, where he'd flirt with a young, beautiful Chesley Santoro around the Coke machine. She stole his heart, and he rescued her hair thingy.
Oh,
Hi. You thirsty?
I wanted a Coke.
Oh, funny. Me too.
I love Coke.
Me too. You dropped your hairpiece.
Oh,
I found it.
Thanks for picking it up.
Of course.
I'd take it from you, but I don't have hands.
You have the most beautiful teeth I've ever seen.
Oh. I love you.
Will you marry me?
Of course, I thought you'd never ask. Well.
They were married on January 21st, 1967. And in 1968, their first and best child was born. For a few years, it was wonderful.
Charles is so old, his first students were prochoroids. Huh? Blue algae? Anyone? Okay, never mind. I got another. Charles is so old, young Earth dinosaurs don't believe he exists. Yeah? Eh? Am I warming you up? You feeling roasted? Hey, wet.
5, 6, 7, 8.
1970s brought about disco, hot pants, and high boots. 1971, Pittsburgh Pirates won against the Baltimore Orioles, but something better came in 1971.
Aaron's purple baby.
Yeah, but who's that?
That's Stuart.
Oh. 1979, it's almost the 80s. Somebody much better's coming along. But in the meantime, 1979, Pittsburgh Pirates won again against the Baltimore Orioles. And again. Look at that 8.
Yeah.
What's his name?
His name is Adam Charles, after his daddy. He needs a blanket.
No. Didn't need it.
Hello, Stuart Krohn here, second son of Charles Stuart Krohn. And I'm going to tell you a little about the 1980s and what that meant for my father. And I think it included summer in Las Vegas. It included a lot of mowing the lawn, wearing black socks and athletic wear, spending Sundays coming out and playing baseball with me and Aaron and a bunch of high school buddies and other folks. But I think the most significant thing was the role of a lifetime for him, which was not the stern but sensual role of a sheriff in Texas's best little whorehouse in Texas, but actually the role of a father to a daughter. My lovely sister, Julia Mary Krohn, who came along right at the beginning of the 80s, and we were all much the better for it. So I love you, Dad. Have a happy birthday, and I'm handing it off now to one of my siblings. I'm not sure who, so enjoy.
So as not to be upstaged by grunge and the generation known as X, Dad had a heart attack in 1991. Fortunately, Peter Webster visited Dad's dressing room to get the answer to a piece of baseball trivia at that very moment, helping to save Dad's life, and proving once again that baseball is the greatest sport in the world.
From cat brain transplants to singing I Left My Heart in San Francisco while driving, and then pretending to rip his heart from his chest with his bare hand, Dad was a fun father. I saw every play he did until I moved to San Diego for grad school, so I knew he was a terrific actor. But it wasn't until the summer of 1995 that I took his Shakespeare in film class and witnessed Dad the teacher. And here, to my surprise, was a different creature, an aspect, a side of Dad I'd never seen. What was not surprising is that he was a good teacher, by which I mean he was guiding his students to consider this, to look at that. Isn't that wondrous, he seemed to say. And he wasn't just lecturing on a subject, he was teaching them to be better thinkers, better people. And that was wonderful to watch.
In the 2000s, all 3 of my siblings got married to get attention, so I thought I'd take this decade to celebrate the cats.
Space to rent in this town, you're out of luck. And the reason that you had to care, the traffic is stuck. And you're not moving anywhere. You thought you found a friend to take you out of this place. Someone you could lend a hand in return for grace. It's a beautiful day. Sky falls, you feel like it's a beautiful day. To let it get away. You're on the road, but you've got no destination. You're in the mud, in the maze of her imagination. Your love is down. Even if that doesn't ring true, you've been all over, and it's been all over you. It's a beautiful day to let it get away.
In 2017, after nearly 60 years of waiting and much heartache, Dad's beloved Astros finally won the World Series.
Whom are the Astros? Have you heard of the Astros?
In the 2010s, Dad reached yet another milestone. He and Mom became grandparents. He now has 6 grandchildren, and counting. Little James was just born on June 3rd of this year.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you. And come to me now and rest your head for just 5 minutes. Everything is done. Such a cozy room. The windows are illuminated while the evening sun shines through them. Fiery gems for you. Only for you. Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you. And la 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 la.
There it is, 10 action-packed decades. Now, something worth noting. Charles recently completed what we've decided to call the Golden Trifecta. He's been teaching for 50 years, he's been acting for 50 years, and he has been married to the lovely Chesley Santoro Krohn for 50 years.
Wow!
No, Ali.
Whoa.
This is not a roast.
I know. Actually, I'd like to read a poem, if you don't mind. Something Charles and I both like.
Well, sure.
Thank you. My Papa's Waltz by Theodore Rothko. The whiskey on your breath could make a small boy dizzy, but I hung on like death. Such waltzing was not easy. We romped until the pan slid from the kitchen shelf. My mother's countenance could not unfrown itself. The hand that held my wrist was battered on one knuckle. At every step you missed, my right ear scraped a buckle. You beat time on my head with a palm caked hard by dirt. Then waltzed me off to bed, still clinging to your shirt.
Wow. That was beautiful, Ali.
Thank you. Charles is so old, he used to babysit the universe. Thought you'd like that one.
It's very good.
Happy birthday. We love you.